fire pops low in the hearth. Coffee steams in my hands. Out there, rain taps the cabin like a slow count. I've learned to listen to small sounds. They tell you when you leave the battlefield, the war stays behind. That's a lie. Sometimes the quiet is louder than gunfire. Sometimes silence is where the real danger waits. I thought I'd found a safe zone. Christmas lights, a clean room, civilian smiles. Then the knock came anyway. Not on my door, but on hers. A deaf woman. A family that set a trap in a luxury room. They figured silence meant weakness. They figured nobody would hold the line. So tell me, brothers, when you're pushed into a corner, do you run or do you stand? Red and black flannel. A service dog named Ranger. One calm step forward. No shouting, no rush. Just a breach at the right moment. Sit down, warm your hands, listen close. There's a lesson here about being the protector when the room turns, and how to survive the quiet. The night they chose for her. Cold river air drifted through Savannah's historic streets as Christmas lights trembled in the wind. The night smelled of rain and pine, and the city glittered as if nothing cruel could happen beneath its glow. Hannah Pierce stood just inside the entrance of the Vaughn House restaurant, her hands clasped at her waist, fingers pressed together to keep them from shaking. She was 29, slim, neatly dressed in a simple winter blouse and a pale coat she had chosen carefully. Her light brown hair fell loose around her shoulders, framing a face that looked calm until one noticed the tension in her eyes. She could not hear the hum of conversation or the clink of glasses. Instead, she read the room by movement and expression. Laughter showed itself in tilted heads and wide mouths. Authority revealed itself in stiff shoulders and sharp gestures. Anna had learned this language years ago, after illness stole her hearing in her teens and left her to rebuild her world in silence. Tonight, she had come because her family asked her to. Brittany Hale spotted her immediately and lifted a hand in greeting. Brittany was 33, tall and polished, her dark hair pulled into a flawless style that did not move when she walked. Her dress was expensive, her smile narrow and practiced. She moved through the room like someone accustomed to being seen and obeyed. Beside her stood Grant Hale, 36, clean-cut, wearing a tailored suit that fit like armor. Grant smiled often, but it never reached his eyes. He liked attention and disliked uncertainty. Hannah sensed that in the way his gaze flicked to her and then away, as if checking a box. "You made it," Brittany mouthed, her lips forming the words clearly. "Good." Hannah smiled back, relief rising in her chest. She had hoped this night might be different. Her family had said the dinner mattered. They had said important people would be there. They had said Hannah's work might finally be introduced in the right way. As the evening unfolded, Hannah remained close but separate, included just enough to be useful. Brittany guided her from table to table, placing a hand at Hannah's elbow when she wanted her to stop or move. Grant spoke for her more than once, his mouth forming quick explanations Hannah did not ask for. She noticed it all. The way Brittany leaned in to whisper to others, then glanced back at Hannah with a careful smile. The way Grant laughed a second too late, watching reactions before committing to his own. Hannah's chest tightened. She had felt this before. That sense of being present, but not truly welcome. Across the room, the doors opened again. Cole Grayson stepped inside with the weight of habit and restraint. He was 40, tall, broad-shouldered, his movements controlled even with the slight limp in his left leg. He wore a red and black flannel shirt beneath a dark jacket, faded jeans, and worn brown boots. His beard was full, streaked with gray at the temples, and his blue eyes scanned the room with the quiet alertness of a man who never stopped assessing risk. At his side walked Ranger. The German shepherd was 5 years old, black and tan, powerful and disciplined. The black harness across his chest bore white lettering that read, "Service Dog, Do Not Pet." Ranger moved close to Cole's leg, head level, ears alert, every step measured. Cole had not planned to stay long. He was delivering a package for an old contact and intended to leave before crowds and noise pressed too close. Places like this made his leg ache and his mind restless. Ranger slowed. The dog's head turned toward Hannah, who stood rigid near the edge of the room. Her shoulders were slightly drawn inward, her eyes fixed on Brittany and Grant as they spoke to a man Hannah did not know. The man nodded while Brittany spoke, then frowned faintly as Grant added something with a shrug. Ranger stopped completely. Cole felt the tension travel through the leash. He followed Ranger's line of sight and saw what the dog saw. A woman standing alone in plain sight, surrounded by people yet isolated by something invisible. Cole had seen that look before. On soldiers who did not trust the ground beneath them. On civilians caught between choices they did not make. Brittany laughed suddenly and placed a hand on Hannah's back, steering her forward. Hannah stumbled a half step, caught herself, and smiled quickly to hide it. Something in Cole's chest tightened. Ranger let out a low breath, not a growl, not a sound meant to warn, but one meant to mark attention. Cole adjusted his grip on the leash and watched a moment longer. He did not rush in. He never rushed. He noticed the way Hannah read lips carefully, how her eyes searched faces for meaning. He noticed the way Brittany spoke without looking at her. The way Grant's posture shifted when he realized he was being observed. Cole moved. He approached at an angle that would bring him into Hannah's line of sight without startling her. Ranger walked at his knee, steady and calm. When Hannah looked up, confusion flickered across her face, then caution. Cole lifted his hands. "Are you okay?" His signing was not fluent, but it was respectful and clear. The shapes were careful, deliberate. Hannah's breath caught. Her eyes widened, then softened. She nodded once, a reflex more than an answer. "Fine," she signed back, though her hands trembled slightly. Ranger sat beside her, close enough to feel solid, far enough to give space. Brittany's smile tightened. She turned toward Cole, eyes assessing, already annoyed. Grant followed her gaze, his expression sharpening. Hannah felt the shift immediately. The air around her changed, heavier now, charged with something she knew too well. Control being challenged. Cole did not look at Brittany or Grant yet. His attention stayed with Hannah, steady and grounded. It was only the beginning. But for the first time that night, Hannah did not feel entirely alone. The space between words. Warm light spilled across polished floors, while rain whispered against the tall windows. Inside the restaurant, Christmas moved on without slowing, bright and careless, as if everyone belonged somewhere else. Hannah Pierce stood beside the marble pillar where Cole Grayson had stopped, her heart still beating too fast. She told herself to breathe. She told herself not to hope. Hope had a way of leaving her exposed. Cole remained where he was, tall and steady in his red and black flannel, one hand relaxed at his side, the other holding Ranger's leash. The German shepherd sat close, black and tan coat sleek under the lights, harness clear and unmistakable. Service dog, do not pet. Ranger's presence was quiet but firm, like a wall that did not need to announce itself. Hannah noticed details she had trained herself to see. The slight hitch in Cole's step when he shifted his weight, the way his eyes moved, calm but alert, taking in the room without appearing to stare. He did not crowd her. He did not rush her. That alone made her chest loosen a fraction. She signed again, slower this time. "Thank you." Cole nodded once. His hands moved carefully. "You do not have to stay here." The words struck deeper than he could know. Hannah swallowed. Leaving was never simple. Leaving meant questions, blame, stories rewritten without her voice. Before she could respond, Brittany Hale appeared at her side. Brittany's perfume reached Hannah before her face did. Brittany smiled wide, lips sharp with irritation disguised as charm. Her dark eyes flicked to Cole, then to Ranger, lingering on the harness with visible disdain. "Is everything all right here?" Brittany asked, her mouth forming exaggerated politeness. She did not look at Hannah when she spoke. Hannah felt the familiar tightening behind her ribs. Brittany was 33, immaculate, controlled. Brittany liked rooms where she decided who mattered. Grant Hale joined them a second later, moving with practiced confidence. He was average tall, shoulders squared inside his tailored suit, chin lifted as if expecting respect on sight. His gaze landed on Cole, measured him, then dismissed him too quickly. "We're in the middle of an important evening," Grant said, smiling thinly. "Hannah gets overwhelmed sometimes." Hannah's fingers curled. She wanted to sign no. She wanted to say, "Stop speaking for me." But the words tangled with years of habit. Cole did not bristle. He did not argue. He met Grant's eyes evenly. "I was just checking if she was okay," Cole said aloud, then signed the same words to Hannah so she could follow. Grant noticed the signing and frowned. Brittany's smile stiffened. "She's fine," Brittany said. "You can go back to whatever you were doing." Ranger shifted slightly, not rising, not threatening, just adjusting his position closer to Hannah's knee. The contact was brief, grounding. Hannah let out a breath she had not realized she was holding. Cole glanced down at Ranger, then back to Hannah. His voice remained level. "Do you want me to leave?" He signed it clearly. Hannah looked at Brittany's mouth, then Grant's. She saw the warning in Brittany's eyes, the impatience in Grant's jaw. She saw the room behind them, full of people who did not know her and did not intend to. She began, hands hesitating. Brittany leaned in. "Hannah, the sponsor is waiting. Do not make this difficult." The word sponsor flashed in Hannah's mind. She thought of the envelope in her coat pocket, the letter she had carried all night, the thing she had believed might finally change how they saw her. Cole noticed the hesitation. He did not push. He simply stepped half a pace back, giving her room to decide. "We can talk over there," he signed, indicating the quieter edge of the room near the windows. No crowd. Grant scoffed. "This is unnecessary." Cole turned to him then, just enough to draw a line. "She decides." It was not loud. It did not need to be. Hannah felt something shift. A small, dangerous warmth spread through her chest. Someone had said it out loud. Someone had meant it. She nodded once. "Yes," she signed. "I want to go there." Brittany's eyes hardened. Grant's mouth tightened. "Fine," Brittany said, stepping aside with false grace. "But do not be long." Cole led the way without touching Hannah, letting her walk at her own pace. Ranger moved between them and the rest of the room, a quiet escort. The space near the windows was dimmer, reflections of lights doubling in the glass. Up close, Hannah noticed the lines around Cole's eyes, the kind earned, not forced. She noticed the scar along his knuckle, pale and old. She wondered, briefly, what it had cost him. "I am Hannah," she signed. Cole answered smoothly. "Cole, this is Ranger." Ranger lifted his head slightly, ears forward. Hannah smiled despite herself. They stood in silence for a moment. Not awkward, just careful. "I am not good at parties," Hannah signed, then added, "especially this one." Cole nodded. "You are not wrong." The corners of her mouth lifted. A real smile, small but genuine. Across the room, Brittany watched, irritation burning through her composure. Grant leaned toward her, muttering something sharp. Hannah did not look back. For the first time that night, she felt the ground under her feet, the trap beneath the lights. Rain thickened outside, streaking the tall windows as the night deepened. Inside, the restaurant grew louder, brighter, the kind of warmth that hid sharp edges beneath polished surfaces. Hannah Pierce stood near the glass with Cole Grayson, her reflection doubled by the lights behind her. She focused on steadying her breath, on the simple fact that she had chosen this corner. That choice mattered more than she expected. Cole remained beside her, red and black flannel visible even in the dimmer light, shoulders squared without being tense. Ranger lay at his feet, black and tan coat still, head resting on his paws, eyes open. The harness lettering caught the glow. Service dog, do not pet. Clear, unmistakable. Hannah signed, slowly. "Thank you for staying." Cole shook his head once. "You do not owe me anything." The words settled gently. Not a favor, not a debt, just presence. Across the room, Brittany Hale had not stopped watching. Her posture stayed elegant, but her jaw tightened each time Hannah's hands moved. Control was slipping, and Brittany felt it like a stain spreading across silk. Grant Hale leaned close to her, speaking fast. Hannah could not hear, but she read enough. "Fix this. People are watching." Brittany nodded, her expression smoothing into decision. She turned and crossed the room with purpose. Mr. Vaughn approached first. He was in his late 50s, heavy-set, wearing a tailored suit that strained slightly at the buttons. His hair was silver at the temples, his smile practiced, the kind that appeared when money was involved. Mr. Vaughn owned the restaurant and sponsored the evening. Image mattered to him. Control mattered more. Brittany greeted him warmly, gesturing subtly toward Hannah and Cole. Mr. Vaughn's eyes followed. His brow creased. Grant joined them, hands in pockets, shoulders loose with false ease. He spoke, then laughed softly, as if sharing an inconvenience rather than a concern. Hannah felt the shift before it reached her. The air changed again, heavier, uncertain. She saw Mr. Vaughn glance toward her, then toward the security staff near the entrance. Her stomach tightened. Cole noticed immediately. He did not turn. He felt Ranger's muscles tense beneath the calm exterior. "What is it?" Hannah signed, catching the change in his posture. Cole answered without sugarcoating. "They are setting something up." Before Hannah could ask more, Mr. Vaughn approached. "Miss Pierce," he said, lips forming the words slowly, loudly, as if volume could bridge what understanding refused to. "We are getting reports that you might be uncomfortable tonight." Hannah stiffened. Her hands rose. "I am fine." Mr. Vaughn glanced at Brittany, who nodded sympathetically. Grant added something with a shrug. Cole stepped half a pace forward, not blocking Hannah, but making his presence clear.
She has said she is fine.
Mr. Vaughn frowned. This is a private event. We need to make sure everyone here is safe. Safe. The word hit Hannah like a door closing. She had heard it used this way before. A cover for removal. A polite mask for exclusion. Ranger lifted his head, ears forward. Then it happened. Grant stepped closer, pretending to adjust his jacket. His elbow caught a waiter's tray. A glass tipped. Red wine splashed across Hannah's pale coat, dark and sudden. Gasps rippled through the room. Grant raised his hands. "Oh, come on. She walked right into me." Brittany clucked softly, concern painted on her face. "Hannah, you should sit down. You are clearly overwhelmed." Hannah froze. The room spun. She saw mouths moving, expressions sharpening, people choosing sides without knowing the truth. Her hands trembled, stained with red. Cole moved. He did not shout. He did not grab. He stepped between Hannah and the noise, body angled protectively, voice calm. "Stop." The word carried. He turned to Mr. Vaughn. "There are cameras here." Mr. Vaughn hesitated. "Of course there are." "Then let us look at them." Grant's smile faltered. Brittany's eyes flashed. Cole continued, steady. "We can clear this up now." Mr. Vaughn weighed the room, the guests, the phones already lifting. Image. Control. He nodded sharply to a staff member. The footage appeared moments later on a tablet. It was clear. Grant's movement, the deliberate elbow, the staged stumble. Silence followed. Not quiet. Shocked. Grant's face drained of color. Brittany opened her mouth, then closed it. Mr. Vaughn's expression hardened. "This ends now." He turned to Brittany and Grant. "I suggest you leave." Whispers rose. Phones recorded. Faces shifted from curiosity to judgment. Hannah stood still, breath shallow, heart pounding. She had expected shame. Instead, she felt something unfamiliar. Relief. Cole glanced down at her, signing calmly. "It is over." Ranger settled again, as if the danger had passed. Across the room, Brittany stared at Hannah with something raw in her eyes. Not pity, not anger alone. Fear. For the first time, Hannah did not look away. When the room turned, rain eased into a fine mist outside, leaving the windows fogged and glowing. Inside, the restaurant felt suspended in a fragile quiet, as if the night itself was holding its breath. Hannah Pierce stood where she was, wine soaking into the sleeve of her pale coat, her hands stained red. For a moment, she could only see the color. It reminded her of every time shame had been poured onto her without warning, every time she had been told to step aside and let others speak. Then she looked up. People were staring, but not the way they had before. Some looked embarrassed. Some looked curious. A few looked openly disapproving, their eyes fixed not on Hannah, but on Brittany and Grant Hale. Cole Grayson stayed beside her, solid and unmoving in his red and black flannel. The slight limp in his left leg showed as he shifted closer, not shielding Hannah, but standing where no one could mistake his position. Ranger rose smoothly to a sit at his heel, black and tan coat immaculate, harness clear under the lights. Service dog, do not pet. Mr. Vaughn cleared his throat. He looked different now. The practiced warmth had vanished, replaced by something sharper and colder. As a businessman, He knew the cost of appearances. As a man with power, he knew when it had slipped from his grasp. "This evening is concluded," he said, lips forming the words slowly and decisively. "We will not tolerate manipulation or misconduct on our floor." Grant opened his mouth, but no sound seemed to come. His confidence had drained, leaving a tight, brittle look behind his eyes. Brittany stepped forward instead. "This is being blown out of proportion," she said, her voice calm but edged. "My cousin has a history of misunderstanding situations." Hannah's chest tightened. The old script. Familiar. Effective. Cole did not interrupt. Mr. Vaughn turned toward Brittany, gaze heavy. "The footage was clear. Your husband caused the incident." Grant stiffened. Brittany's eyes flicked to him, irritation flashing through her composure. Then Brittany changed tactics. She stepped closer to Hannah, lowering her voice, her mouth shaping words meant to look caring. "Hannah, you are clearly overwhelmed. Let us take you home." Home. The word hit like a trap snapping shut. Hannah felt it then, the sharp clarity cutting through the fog. She saw Brittany's intention plainly. Control. Silence. Erasure. She raised her hands. "No." The sign was small, but deliberate. Brittany blinked, surprised. Cole noticed and angled slightly so Hannah was fully visible to everyone watching. Mr. Vaughn followed Hannah's hands, then looked at Cole. "She does not wish to leave," Cole said evenly. Grant scoffed, desperation creeping into his posture. "She cannot even hear what is happening. This is ridiculous." Ranger shifted forward a fraction, posture alert but contained. Hannah's pulse thundered. She felt every eye on her. Fear pressed in, thick and heavy. But beneath it, something else stirred. Resolve. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out the envelope she had carried all night. Her fingers shook, but she did not stop. She handed it to Mr. Vaughn. Mr. Vaughn hesitated, then opened it. As he read, his expression changed. Curiosity gave way to surprise, then to something close to admiration. He looked up at Hannah, seeing her for the first time not as a complication, but as value. "This is significant," he said. "An international illustration contract." A murmur spread through the room. Brittany's face tightened. Grant took a step back. Mr. Vaughn turned to the guests nearby. "Miss Pierce is a recognized artist. Any implication otherwise is incorrect." He handed the papers back to Hannah with care. Then he turned to Brittany and Grant. "You are no longer welcome here tonight." The words landed with finality. Grant's face flushed. Brittany's composure cracked, just enough to show panic beneath the polish. "This is a mistake," Brittany said. "You do not know what you are doing." Mr. Vaughn's voice hardened. "I know exactly what I am doing." Security moved in quietly, not rough, but unmistakable. Phones were out now. Faces leaned together. Whispers moved faster than sound. Hannah watched Brittany and Grant retreat, their steps sharp and hurried. Brittany looked back once, eyes burning with a mix of fury and something else Hannah recognized with a strange calm. Regret. When the doors closed behind them, the room exhaled. Hannah felt her knees weaken. She had stood her ground. She had not been erased. Cole noticed immediately. He reached out, offering his forearm without touching her, letting her choose. Hannah steadied herself against him, surprised by how natural it felt. "You did that," Cole signed. Hannah shook her head, emotion tightening her throat. "We did." Ranger sat again, satisfied. "Mr." Vaughn approached once more, his tone different now. "Miss Pierce, I would like to speak with you about displaying your work here. Publicly." Hannah stared at him, stunned. Cole glanced at her, searching her face. The choice was hers. She nodded slowly. "Yes," she signed. The night had turned, and for the first time, Hannah felt the power shift back into her hands. A different kind of home. The rain had stopped, leaving Savannah washed clean and quiet. Christmas lights reflected on wet stone streets, steady and warm, as the night finally loosened its grip. Hannah Pierce stepped outside the restaurant with Cole Grayson, the cool air touching her face like a reset. Her coat was still marked with a faint stain, but she no longer felt the need to hide it. It was proof she had stood through something and come out intact. Cole moved beside her, the red and black flannel unmistakable beneath his open jacket. He walked with his familiar slight limp, unhurried, grounded. Ranger stayed close at his knee, black and tan coat gleaming under the streetlight, the harness text clear and firm. "Service dog, do not pet." The dog paused, scanning the street, then relaxed. They stood there for a moment, not speaking. Hannah watched Cole's breath in the cool air. She noticed the way his shoulders finally eased, the tension draining now that the room was behind them. Inside, applause had followed Mr. Vaughn's announcement. Offers had been murmured. Hands had reached out. But Hannah had asked for a moment first. She needed quiet to understand what had happened. "You do not have to decide anything tonight," Cole signed gently, making sure she saw every word. Hannah nodded. She had spent most of her life reacting, adjusting, accepting what others decided. Tonight had been different. The difference scared her, but it also felt right. "Thank you," she signed. "Not just for earlier, for seeing me." Cole met her gaze. His eyes were steady, thoughtful. He signed back slowly. "I did not do much." Hannah smiled, small but certain. "You stood where others moved away." The truth of it settled between them. Ranger shifted, tail brushing Hannah's leg. She laughed softly, the sound unfamiliar even to herself, and reached down. Ranger leaned into her touch for a brief second, then straightened again, professional as ever. Cole watched, a corner of his mouth lifting. He remembered how Ranger had pulled him back from darker nights, how the dog had anchored him when nothing else could. Seeing Ranger choose Hannah without hesitation felt like confirmation he trusted. They began walking, the city opening into quieter streets. Cole gestured toward a small cafe still lit despite the late hour. "Chocolate?" he signed. Hannah's eyes brightened. "Yes." Inside, the cafe was nearly empty. A woman behind the counter, mid-40s with kind eyes and silver threaded through her dark hair, looked up and smiled. She wore a simple sweater and moved with calm efficiency. "Evening," she said warmly, then noticed Hannah's attention shift to her lips. The woman slowed her speech naturally, without making a show of it. "What can I get you?" Hannah felt a small surge of relief. She ordered with a nod and a smile. They sat near the window. The mugs arrived, steam curling upward. The warmth seeped into Hannah's hands, steadying her again. Cole removed his jacket and rested it on the chair, flannel sleeves rolled slightly. He took a sip, eyes thoughtful. "I was going to leave after the delivery," he signed. "I am glad I did not." Hannah traced the rim of her mug. "So am I." She hesitated, then reached into her bag and took out the envelope again. She did not open it this time. She simply set it on the table between them. "I almost did not come tonight," she signed. "I thought maybe if I tried harder, they would change." Cole listened without interrupting. That was something Hannah noticed. He never filled silence out of discomfort. "I think I am done trying to earn a place where I am not wanted," she finished. Cole nodded once. "That is not weakness." Hannah looked at him, searching. He added, quieter, "It is survival." The word landed with weight and understanding. Outside, the streetlights flickered on, steady again. A sense of ending wrapped around the moment, but not the kind that closed doors, the kind that opened them. Mr. Vaughn's offer echoed in Hannah's mind. The looks from the crowd, the certainty in her own hands when she had signed no. She felt tired, but not empty. "I do not know what comes next," she signed. Cole's response was simple. "You do not have to know tonight." Ranger lifted his head, ears flicking as someone passed outside, then settled again. The world continued, quietly. They finished their drinks. When they stood, Hannah realized something else had changed. She was not bracing herself to leave alone. Outside, Cole hesitated, then signed, "I live a few blocks from here, if you want to walk." Hannah considered the street, the night, the steady presence beside her. She nodded. "Yes." They walked side by side, not touching, but close enough to feel the shared warmth. Ranger paced between them, a living line of trust. For the first time in a long while, Hannah did not feel like she was following someone else's path. She was choosing her own. Sometimes a miracle does not arrive with thunder or light from the sky. Sometimes it comes quietly, through a person who chooses to stand where others walk away. Faith is not only what we say we believe, it is what we do when we see injustice, loneliness, or pain. God's will often moves through ordinary hands, steady hearts, and simple courage. One moment of kindness can become the answer to a prayer someone was too tired to speak. In daily life, we may never know whose night we are changing. A word, a pause, a decision to protect instead of ignore can turn shame into healing, fear into hope. That is how grace works, not loudly, but faithfully. If this story touched you, please share it with someone who needs hope. Leave a comment and tell us what kindness means to you. And subscribe to the channel to keep these stories alive. May God bless you, guide your steps, and use your life as a quiet miracle for others.